Thank you very much, members, for getting here. All right. Finance, you want to explain your drug Medi-Cal proposal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. John Wardlaw, Department of Finance. The administration proposes elimination of the drug Medi-Cal program with the exception of the perinatal and the youth services programs for general fund savings. This is not an easy reduction in any way. The administration has long since passed the easy cuts. We're way beyond that, and we're now at the point where we're making very, very, very difficult reductions.
I wonder why the governor this morning said he still thinks there's waste he hasn't found in 6 years. All right. But what does this do, and what is its effect on the universe, and who are we affecting?
Madam Chair, I'll defer to the department to give you specifics relative to caseload impacts associated with.
And how much federal funds are you giving up, and have you scored that impact in the budget?
Yes, Madam Chair, there'd be a reduction of $66 million in federal funds associated with this reduction.
So for saving 53, we lose 66?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Greg Jolivet with the Legislative Analyst Office. We don't have estimates of the potential cost shifts, but we do believe that there would potentially be cost shifts in the area of corrections and child welfare services, as noted in the agenda. I mean, essentially, we're talking about people who are currently in drug treatment, say methadone. For many people, it's a daily treatment. The day the clinic closes, those people have to do something, and if they can't make it to the next methadone clinic, heroin would be the next choice, and potentially you would see folks arrested, jail costs, possibly prison costs, and usually when that happens, there are foster care costs or other child welfare costs.
Senator Leno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the themes that we've seen in Budget Sub 3 this past year in discussions with the Department of Finance on some of these cuts, whether they're for Health and Human Services or in the case of the ADP program here, a complete lack of interest in providing any kind of cost-benefit analysis, and to suggest that the governor is just closing his eyes to any potential cost shifts is, I think, reckless and cavalier. How can you not immediately recognize the consequences of eliminating funds for this program, irrespective of the fiscal comments that Senator Alquist has just made? It doesn't really make much sense to leave all these federal dollars on the table, but we're going to see that repeated in a number of issues that we're addressing today. But 171,000 individuals addicted to drugs, very hardcore addictive people, this is going to significantly increase our crime rate. This is a public safety issue first and foremost, and it's a recipe for disaster on our streets. We can get to the issue of the well-being of the participants of the program in a minute, but does the governor have no concern, no interest, or is he in disbelief that this will not impact the safety of our children and of our communities?
Madam Chair and members, the governor, this is a very, very difficult reduction that he's making. We all acknowledge that and would agree that there are significant consequences associated with these reductions. Unfortunately, we can't give you a specific dollar amount or human toll associated with this particular reduction. Again, as I mentioned previously, the easy cuts are way past us. We are now at the point where there's simply nowhere else to go but the very, very, very challenging reductions.
Well, I'm not going to accept that there's no place else to go, because there are billions and billions and billions of dollars of tax credits, of other kinds of new revenue.
Okay, people, we don't want to.
So, I mean, we may disagree as to what the options are, but to say there are no options is just flat wrong.
Basically, given that we've already zero funded the base Prop 36 program, and this was what was left, if you will, of that, for counties to fund drug treatment, the law wouldn't change with respect to deferral. So therefore, the outcome here is to have drug offenders with no treatment and no jail. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Yes, potentially, that's correct, yes.
There's 40 years of scientific evidence about the effectiveness of drug treatment and medication-assisted treatment in particular. And this is one of those programs, the drug Medi-Cal program, that government got right, because it's a highly effective program at keeping people in treatment, at reducing their drug use and reducing their criminal activity, getting them employed and getting them housed. We know from the science that more than 80% of people will relapse within a year, which means that you will have significant costs within the same budget year that this cut takes effect. So when you ask a very insightful question about what are the costs going to be, we know from Cal data and from the update to Cal data by UCLA in 2004 that you can expect roughly a 7-to-1 return on investment. So if the program costs somewhere around $115 million, there's more than $700 million to nearly $1 billion in new costs to the state in the same fiscal year that you make this cut.
We are dealing with an aging population in our clinics who have serious medical illnesses. Liver failure being the most predominant one from hepatitis C, but lung failure, heart failure. Patients, many of our patients, probably 30 to 40%, are over 50 years old. To withdraw these people from methadone is going to be a life-threatening endeavor. And asking doctors to pull the medication in people that you know cannot tolerate it is going, I don't know how that's going to happen. They are going to wind up not just in our emergency rooms, but in our hospitals, in our intensive care units. This is not really an optional medication for these people. It may be an optional benefit, but it's not an optional medication, and we have to figure a way to give them that medication.
Let's keep things in perspective. The $60 million that the administration seeks to save through this proposal is like, what, a week's worth of funding in the prison system. This is a system that helps many of the most fragile people in our state who, if they don't have access to treatment, you know as well as I do, they're going to end up in other systems much more expensively. I mean, you want to talk about the growth of government. But if this proposal goes through, we're going to be losing all these jobs in treatment programs, but we will be creating other government jobs in the prisons and law enforcement, and much more expensively. So we urge you to reject this short-sighted proposal. Thank you.
1 out of 1,000 goes to prison for 1 year. The taxpayer loses, the general fund takes a more significant hit. If only 1 out of 1,000 of those persons contracts hepatitis C through sharing syringes, the general fund takes a hit and the taxpayer loses. If 1 in 1,500 contract HIV through a shared syringe, the general fund takes a hit and the taxpayer loses. If 1 out of 1,000 dies of a drug overdose, 1,750 California families lose a loved one.
If you don't believe the cost offset issue, look at the budget. Look at the Department of Corrections. Look what it does year after year. Hundreds of millions of dollars it overruns its annual budget. It can't stay between the lines. And you want to save what? A few $1 million here? Put these people out on the street? Here's what happens. They die under bridges. They kill one of you or your loved ones driving their car loaded. They end up in the ER rooms where none of you can get your family members in because they're clogged up with a bunch of addicts trying to get more drugs. Come on, the damage is out there. It's clear as a bell.
I was one of those that you're talking about being loaded and being in the ER looking for drugs, or just going to the parks, wherever I can find it. Or I'd be the ones who'd be stealing your purse or stealing whatever you are. I'd be the one that you'd be looking for. I'd be the one that's in jail and all these other things. But because I had MedMark and I had the methadone, and it taught me the things that I had to do and how to get straightened out, and someone to talk to, a counselor, a one-on-one, it made it a lot better. I'm not doing the things that I'm doing. I'm straightened out. I'm productive. I've got now my family back, and I've got everything to look forward to.
Good afternoon. My name is Powell Kennedy. I'm 24 years old. I've been clean and sober since October 30th of 2009.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's the longest I've ever been able to maintain sober in the 7 years that I have been addicted since I was 17. I'm 24 years old now. I've tried hospital-run detox programs in which sometimes they do give you methadone there for about 4 to 5 days, and then they taper you and cut you off and cut you loose. And I just would go back every time, over and over. Tried a few 60 to 90-day private programs, not government-run, but with little to no success. My drug habits began when I was 17 in Arizona. I had a $350 a day heroin habit by my second year. Very rarely would I have any of my own money to purchase that, meaning I would have to steal from someone, somebody, anything to get my next fix, no matter what it was. All my family and friends disowned me because of all the lies, stealing, and nonstop manipulation. Ever since I've been stabilized on methadone 6 months ago, I've been able to lead a different lifestyle. I'm a full-time student at Cosumnes River College with an intended degree in business. Just finished my finals, and I did very well in them. So I'm now searching for a job. I don't steal from anybody or anything. I'm in contact with all my friends and family. I'm able to be a stand-up father figure. And I have a fiance, and she has 2 children, and I feel like I can be a good stand-up father figure to them. And a lot of this is big part of this is owed to Core Medical Clinic and the counselors and all the wonderful people there that do so much every day to help us. Thank you.